JB, good to see you. Today we are talking through 3 signs that you are invested too conservatively. We've talked before about the stress that comes with taking on too much risk, but playing it too safe can also create financial stress. So let's talk through some signs to determine if your retirement plan is too cautious. Number one, you constantly worry about running out of money. If you are overly conservative, your savings may not grow enough to keep up with your needs, especially over a long retirement.
Absolutely. Good to see, as always, Erin. You want to make sure that you have a game plan. And if your accounts are in 100% safe funds and you're not
Mhm.
earning enough interest to keep up with your expenses, it's going to create more stress. You have to develop that long term approach. Make sure that you have your accounts set up the way that they need to be. But there can be just as much risk in taking too little risk as there is too much risk. You have to have a balanced approach to make sure that you can keep up with inflation over time.
I'm glad you brought that up because that brings us to the second point. If your money isn't working for you, if your portfolio barely moves over time and inflation, as you mentioned, is eating away at your purchasing power, your retirement income could be at risk.
Absolutely. We all know over the last 5 years, inflation has been more of the last 5 years than it was the previous 10 years. Inflation, just like the markets, does not always go in a linear fashion, and everything that we purchase doesn't increase by the same exact amount each year. So we have to make sure that we plan ahead for the future, have those rainy day funds, have those safe funds. But in order to keep up with inflation and ahead of inflation, we got to make sure that our money's growing more than inflation, or
Mhm.
else it might not be this year or next year, but down the road, we're going to start to see our accounts erode, and we
Mhm.
don't want to outlive our funds. So you have to
Mhm.
make sure that you have a game plan and
Right.
not have too little risk with what you have saved, unless you're independently wealthy, like the Powerball or something like that.
Right. And then last, if you avoid making financial decisions out of fear. So if you hesitate to adjust your investments, even when it might benefit you, it could mean your fear of risk is holding you back.
This is a great point. You want to have processes set up. You want to have a game plan, and you don't want to just make your decisions out of fear. Think about the folks who jumped out of the market in 2008 when it hit the bottom in March of
Mhm.
2009.
Mhm.
Well, if your account was down 40% and you got out, you never experienced the growth years that ensued from 2009 through the beginning part of 2020. So you have to have a game plan. And as long as you have enough saved, any good financial plan, it involves having safe money, it involves having growth funds, but you have to make sure that you have a game plan and you're not just being reactionary.
Right.
Have the control, have the game plan, but you don't want to just buy things out of fear. Say, oh, everybody's buying XYZ stock. Let me go buy it. Well, it might not
Exactly.
be a
Exactly.
great time to do it.
Right. And so that brings us to our last question. Just explain how investing too conservatively can be just as dangerous as taking on too much risk.
So think about when you have your financial plan set up. If we knew that we could get fixed interest rates of 8 to 10% like they had back in the 80s, but we had inflation of 3 or 4%, then it's okay to have a lot more money in safe and in guaranteed interest accounts. But you want to have a three bucket approach. A lot of folks like to use. You have your safe money. Think of that as like checking and savings and safe safe accounts that might be managed money on the safe side of the coin. Your income, you've got dividends and bonds, structured notes, accounts like that, REITs that can generate dividends and income, and then annuities. Annuities can have the fixed interest side, but then they can also provide that guaranteed paycheck if you want money that you cannot outlive. And then you also have the growth side of the coin. Stocks, ETFs, mutual funds, things that can grow over time that might have higher risk. But as long as you have diversification, you don't have to worry about, well, my my growth accounts, they did great this year, but my interest rates are down at 1% on, like, in 2020 on my safe money. If you have a game plan and you have everything mapped out, you don't have to worry as much. But if
Mhm.
everything's all in the same type of account, what happens if we have 1% interest rates like in 2020, but we have inflation like we did a couple of years ago that was like 8 or 9%? Well, you're
Right.
you're losing money, and over a period
Mhm.
of time, you're going to lose a lot of money. So make sure you
Mhm.
have a plan and you work with a professional that specializes in things like this. This is something that we love helping people solve their financial puzzles and figure out based on their goals, what's the ideal amount of risk they want to take, and then what are some accounts that they can use so that they don't run out of money and of course reduce stress.
Right, and still sleep at night. It's exactly having a financial plan in line with your risk tolerance helps you just have peace of mind. I'm so glad you brought that up, JB. So if somebody would like to sit down with you, determine their own unique risk tolerance and design a plan around it, what's the best way to reach you?
Best way to reach us is give us a call, 803-939-4848, or visit us online at beckettfinancialgroup.com. Love to talk to you about your goals and figure out the best way to set up accounts based on your goals.
Great. JB, thank you.
Thank you, Erin.